Howdy folks, and welcome back to Warhammer 40,000 Chaos Gate Daemonhunters, where we have a bit of a good news, bad news situation. Grandmaster Kai was not best pleased at the last Grandmaster's report, because I'd spent so much time dicking around and not actually investigating the source of the bloom. Fortunately, I was able to blame it on Inquisitor Waifu, but it has left me desperately short of requisition points, which meant that I had to do the next mission on the way to the source without any grenades in order to get some requisition points back. And while the mission did actually go way better than expected, and taught me a few things about not relying on grenades as much, I forgot to record it. So that's the bad news. The good news, which is also bad news for me, is that I no longer have any excuses for not heading to the Nexus and investigating the source of the corruption on board the derelict and chaos-infested Eldar Craftworld.
Throne of Terror. Do you sense the emanations? A warp song of corruption and disease.
Maintaining distance. The edict must be protected.
Inquisitor, this plan of yours was predicated on the Craftworld being dormant.
And so the Eldari remain. Did you truly believe this plague would be similarly docile?
The Sons of Titan are not chaff to be deployed recklessly, Inquisitor.
Oh, cease your nursemaiding, knight. Is this not what you were made for? Teleport us in!
Well, she has a point, but she doesn't have to be such a bitch about it. So, here it is. Craftworld Usaria. Corruption level 5. And it's not covered by my prognosticars, so 40% warp surge per turn, mutation level high, resistance bonuses, afflictions, and I have no idea of the kind of threat that I'm going to face. On the bright side, I will get some much needed requisition points, providing I survive and complete this mission. Unfortunately, the armory rewards that I can buy with those requisition points are all still tier 1. On the upside, in addition to your squad of 4 Marines, you do also get to take Inquisitor Waifu along with you. And as you'd expect of an Imperial Inquisitor, she is a bit of a badass. She has 18 hit points, 19 willpower, as well as 2 armor and 5 movement points. Sadly, she doesn't come with any resistances. She is armed with twin plasma pistols, knowledge and power, one of which uses willpower as its ammunition. Now, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because it means that she can continuously fire it just by expending her willpower. And aside from her weapons, she is also a powerful psyker, so she comes with a whole bunch of extremely useful abilities, which we'll see as we beam down and get into action.
The Craftworld has been devastated by Nurgle.
The Xeno-Archaeotech defeats my scanners. Is it stable?
For now, it serves the Plague God, and will not crumble until his purpose is fulfilled.
Right. Now, if you're playing this game yourself and you have not yet completed this mission, please pay attention, because this is very, very important. Let's take a look at Inquisitor Waifu's abilities, because aside from those 2 plasma pistols, she has some extremely powerful telepathic abilities as well, which we'll see shortly after I engage the first patrol. As you'd expect in this place, there are no Chaos Cultists, there's no cannon fodder. The patrols are all very, very nasty. So, just waiting for them to do their thing, none of which is going to be good. Well, that one's doing +2 damage in melee, for example. So Iolanthus is up first, and there are a couple of seed carriers, and Iolanthus has his extractor servo skull. Unfortunately, they're just out of range. And if they're out of range of his servo skull, they're going to be out of range of his storm bolter as well. So, Inquisitor Vakir. She must survive this mission. But look at these abilities. Target a demon to destroy them. Not strip their armor, not do damage, utterly destroy them. She can also afflict them with frenzy, making them turn on each other, and she can completely dominate one, bend it to her will, and turn it to our side for a couple of turns. She has the most ridiculously powerful anti-demonic special abilities. And while she does have a lot of willpower to use those abilities, she doesn't have an unlimited amount of willpower. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to need those abilities for when I face something a bit more dangerous than a simple patrol. Because if the patrols are this bad, how bad are the things that the patrols are protecting going to be? And if I've blown all of her willpower on the admittedly harder than expected cannon fodder before I get to whatever the cannon fodder are protecting, it's going to make it that much harder to deal with the real bad guys if I don't have any of her special abilities left because I've drained all of her willpower. I mean, I don't think that was an unreasonable assessment to make. They've given me Inquisitor Waifu for this mission, and she is ridiculously powerful against demons. And then the mission throws all of these tougher than expected demons at me right at the start. It's like it's trying to sucker me into blowing all of her willpower early so that I've got nothing left in the tank for when I actually need it. Well, I'm here to tell you that you absolutely don't need to worry about that. I mean, I only found this one out the hard way. Look at these guys, 50% chance to cancel a melee attack. I mean, these are the patrols. Right, this is the cannon fodder here. That thing just casually parried Iolanthus's Hammerhand crit attack. These are not the bosses. 50% chance of parrying any melee attack. Even Interceptor Storm is looking a bit dodgy here. I'm going to go in with a teleport strike. And I think I might warp charge it as well. Desperately needs some kills. Okay, he's got one, so he gets the willpower back. A regular hit isn't going to kill this guy, so I'm going to expend another point of willpower to force strike and kill him. And that will leave one. The force strike isn't going to kill that guy, so there's no point in expending the willpower.
Tens of thousands of Eldar died here. Their blood and torment now fertilize the bloom.
Inquisitor, focus.
Your braying grows tiresome. I know why I'm here.
Now, how far up can I move Apothecary Han and still have an action point left to do something about the remaining patrol? It's in range and he will kill it. However, and this was something else I had to find out about the hard way, there's still one final member of the patrol left, and he's in such a good position that I can't really do anything about it. But also, right in front of us, around the bodies of the patrol that we have just killed, is an infested Eldar weapon emplacement. And that is going to shoot at us as well.
Right.
But what I didn't know, and I had to find out the hard way, is that you can deactivate them and in fact switch them to your own side just by standing next to them and clicking on them. So the good news, Interceptor Storm casually parries the demon's melee attack, but then gets shot at point-blank range by an Eldar las cannon. And remember, the bloom rises by 40% every turn on this place. This is what Corruption Level 5 looks like. But now it's my turn, I have two enemies to deal with. Now, Inquisitor Waifu here could just walk right up to that thing and one-shot it with one of her special abilities. But I'm so paranoid that I'm going to need all of her willpower later that instead I just shoot at it with one of her plasma pistols.
Whoa.
And the plasma pistols are good weapons. And of course, because Interceptor Storm has the relevant special ability, he gets to take a reaction shot at anything that gets shot at within the range of his Storm Bolter. So I soften it up again with Inquisitor Waifu's plasma pistol. Now, I'd like to get the kill with Intercept the Storm so he can get some willpower back. But first, this is how I discover that I can actually flip the Eldar weapon emplacements over to us just by walking up to them and clicking on them.
Great nests of activity rising across the craft world. I urge haste.
We will not be stopped. Not when we're so close.
So, Storm gets the willpower back. He's back up to 9 willpower again. But here's the thing. You do not need to be paranoid about preserving Inquisitor Waifu's willpower. Because the second you complete this first half of the mission, and this is a bit of a spoiler, but it's something that you really do need to know so you don't fall into the same trap that I did. But the second you move on to phase 2 of this mission, you are effectively going to lose control of her. Don't worry, it's nothing bad. But you will not be able to use all of that willpower that you have not spent as soon as you begin the second phase of this mission. So go ahead. Use all of her willpower. Use those special abilities in this first half of the mission.
Your orders?
Because you're not actually saving it for anything. You're not going to get to use any of it in the second half. I mean, it would be amazing if you did get to use all of her special abilities for what comes next, because it would have made things substantially easier, but you don't, so you may as well go to town in this first half of the mission, because this is the only opportunity you're going to have to use those amazing special abilities. There's another one of those Eldar las cannon emplacements over there, which will shoot at me unless I can get somebody up to it and flip it over. And it's uncomfortably close to a patrol. Now, will it alert the patrol if it sees me? Don't know. Only one way to find out. Will it even be immediately hostile? Don't know. Only one way to find out. So I'm cautiously inching
Yes, Commander.
the squad members up. And this is where I find out that those las cannon emplacements, they don't react in the same way as patrols.
The corruption thickens. We must be on track.
I mean, I'm clearly close enough to be in range and to be shot at, but it's not going to go active in my turn in the way that a patrol would. It just sits there and waits for the enemy turn, which is good, because it gives me more time to get up to it and deactivate it. But I have now spotted a patrol, which, as you can see, scatters, and then does its thing. But the las cannon emplacements just sit there until they get the opportunity to shoot in the enemy turn. So that's good to know. And I can get Iolanthus over there and deactivate it and turn it to my side. So that's one less thing to worry about. Sadly, it doesn't give you any willpower for doing it. With one action point left, all I can really do with Iolanthus is either an Aegis Shield or Overwatch. And I think Overwatch is the best choice because these things are quite resistant to melee attacks with that parry ability. So Overwatch it is. Now, Intercept the Storm. I mean, it's not that every single one of them has a 50% chance to parry, but some of them do. And I'm not sure whether that's an innate ability or the result of a mutation. Anyway, Overwatch it is, and I do know that they don't have any built-in resistances to getting shot at. Aside from being out of line of sight. Great. Oh, we can hit that one though. That's all he's going to get to do though, because he only had the one action point left. Right, Intercept a Storm. I really don't want to teleport him right into the bunch of 3 of those things, because, I mean, he's badass, but he's not that badass. And they do have a fair distance to cover before they can get to us, so I'm just going to set up Overwatch. The warp meter is increasing by 40% every turn,
We'll hold them here.
but it's only at 40% at the moment. So I'm not going to have a warp surge right now. And I'm going to do Overwatch with Apothecary Han as well. And that just leaves the Inquisitor, who unfortunately cannot do Overwatch. Turns out you can't do Overwatch with plasma weapons, or at least she can't. Which is a bit of a bummer. So, I'm just looking for some place I can put her where she'll be as safe as possible. I'm thinking about using those special abilities, and then I'm looking at the willpower cost. I'm thinking, no, I'm going to need those for later. You are absolutely not going to need those for later. Go ahead and use them all in this section of the mission. Right, The one guy takes some overwatch from Iolanthus. They go straight for the Inquisitor. Fortunately, she does have 2 points of armor. And that guy, oh, you've got to be kidding, stops right on the boundary of both sets of overwatch and simply stops and buffs himself for +2 melee damage. Right, what's this one doing? +4 hit points, holy crap. The warp meter is now up to 80%. No matter what happens, we're getting a warp surge this turn. Iolanthus is up first. Gonna use the servo skull while I remember, and they're in range. Why is it not letting me? Wait a minute, is that a Medicae servo skull and not an extractor servo skull? Is that what I'm doing here? Is that the wrong kind of servo skull, Jingles? I think it might be. So we're just gonna get parried. Fantastic. Try again. Didn't parry that one. This should kill it, unless it parries, and it doesn't. Right. Okay, cool. So the plan now is to just shoot that guy on the left with Apothecary Harn, but there's a great big Wraithbone construct between him and it, so I have to move him and waste an action point doing so in order to clear the line of fire. Which probably means he isn't going to have enough to kill it this turn. He does 4 damage with that, drops it from 12 to 8, but Interceptor Storm gets a reaction shot off, which only does 2 damage. Which leaves it on 1 hit point. God damn it. Right, Apothecary Harn is out. I'd rather not have to walk all the way over there and kill it with melee, but I'm kind of going to have to because he doesn't have a line of fire. So here's hoping it doesn't parry this melee attack. And it doesn't. Which is good because it's dead, but it's bad because it's left Interceptor Storm standing right in front of another las cannon. So where can I move him to that's going to be in cover? And there are plenty of places that I could have moved him to that would be in cover. And for some reason I have a sudden rush of shit to the brain and move him into the one spot that isn't actually in cover. Again, Inquisitor Waifu could have just one-shotted that demon regardless of how much health or armor it has with the use of one of the psychic abilities. But again, I am so paranoid that I am going to need those psychic abilities for something that isn't just a random patrol, that I instead just blast it with her plasma pistol. I mean, her plasma pistols are good. But this is a whole bunch of action points that I'm spending that I don't really need to spend because I could have quite easily killed it with one action. Then again, I do get to... because you can't actually gain experience on Inquisitor Vakir, so everything she kills is effectively a waste of experience points. You really should be getting the kills with your squad, so they're the ones that can level up. Like so.
Terminated.
There's still another one back there. Ah, what the hell. And it is a seed carrier. And yes, I know I didn't use anybody's extractor servo skulls on it, but the Eldar cannon looks like it's completely missed. Iolanthus does at least get to take a reaction shot against it, although it doesn't kill it obviously, and it does get to hurt Iolanthus. And this time, because of the idiotic placement of Interceptor Storm, gets to take a free shot at him as well. Then we got the Warp Surge, and there's now a miasma of frailty between Interceptor Storm and everybody else, which is less than good. But hang on a second. I can extract that seed now before it's too late, and I still haven't figured out that Justicar Iolanthus does not have an extractor servo skull. He has a Medicae servo skull. So instead, we just kill it. Or I would have if it hadn't parried his last attack. Alright. Now it's dead. And here's the interesting thing. Purgator Fool just reloaded, which means we've just gone out of combat, despite the fact
I can feel it.
that there is still a hostile las cannon emplacement over there. So that's something else that's good to know when you come to do this mission. Those Eldar weapon emplacements, they're not really enemies in the same way that patrols are. They're more environmental hazards, like plasma cells lying around, or structures that you can knock over to crush enemies with. When you're getting shot at by one of those things, you don't really count as being in combat. And while I might have missed all of the previous Poxus seeds, because I still haven't figured out that Justicar Iolanthus is not carrying an Extractor Servo Skull. He's actually got a Medicae Servo Skull, which is a result of the setup that I made for the previous mission, the one I forgot to record when I took the glorious deed to not use any grenades. It's not just that you cannot use any grenades on those type of missions, you're not even allowed to equip any grenades if you've accepted that glorious deed, so instead I gave Iolanthus a Medicae Servo Skull, and I've completely forgotten about it. But Storm was able to pick up the Poxus seed that was just lying around, and he did get a willpower point back because of it. So I feel like we're getting kind of close here. There is another enemy patrol right up ahead, and it's taken us well, I say so much time. We haven't exactly been slacking, but the warp meter is going up 40% every turn. So we're about to meet that patrol, and we're about to get another warp surge. And this time it's Chaos Marines and Blight Haulers. And honestly, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, on the plus side, they're not going to be parrying any melee attacks, but they have ranged attacks of their own. And there's another las cannon right there.
It's emanating from behind that door. Cover me while I release its wards.
And unless I'm very much mistaken, there's also another las cannon right at the top of the steps. I still haven't figured out that Iolanthus is not carrying the correct servo skull. And I was actually starting to think maybe there's just something weird about this particular mission that makes Extractor Servo Skulls not work. There isn't. I'm using the wrong servo skull. So, I can move Iolanthus. Actually, let's worry about Iolanthus later.
Your orders?
Intercept the Storm. We're going to get a Warp Surge this turn anyway, so it doesn't really matter if I use any of his teleport abilities, and I would really like to take that las cannon out of the equation, and using his teleport abilities is probably the only way I can realistically expect to get up there and do it, but I don't want him there with his ass hanging in the breeze and all of these guys standing right next to him as well. And without some help, he's not going to have enough action points to do it by himself. Unless... I mean, I do have the Quicksilver stratagem, but I don't know if those stratagems are going to refresh when I've completed this first part of the mission.
Commander?
So, Iolanthus, honour the chapter. Yes, we're going to do this. Am I going to warp charge it? He's got 11 willpower, I may as well. It's going to give Storm 3 extra action points and a bonus point of willpower. Right, so... now with 6 action points, I'm going to move him up as close as I can to get the maximum use out of his teleport,
Advancing.
while using the minimum amount of action points to do it. Oh, there's a... great. There's actually another laser cannon. Fantastic. Okay, so we'll put him there. That's going to strip our... and I will warp charge it to do the maximum possible amount of damage. So that's going to strip the armour off both of the Plague Marines and seriously injure at least one of them. And now we'll take over this las cannon. He still has 3 action points. Strip the armour off the Blight Hauler, or potentially kill this Plague Marine. He gets a crit. There's no point in going for the armour pierce since he's just stripped all of its armour off anyway, but I will disable its ranged weapon because that's a blight sprayer, and that is really nasty. Can finish it off, claim some willpower back, and now I think, yeah, I'm going to teleport him right back out and into the best possible cover. And I think, or I could teleport him. Yeah, I could teleport him to that las cannon, but he's not going to have the action points left to deactivate it. Or he is, because he gets his action point back from the teleport ability. So I lucked out there, and that's 2 of the las cannons disabled. Well, not even disabled, switched over to our side. There is another one at the top of the steps, though. There are actually 3 las cannons over here, possibly 4. There might be another one at the top of the steps that I haven't seen yet. So no. Iolanthus, what can we do? What can we do? Honestly, I think he doesn't really have enough action. I can move him up here, that gets him in decent cover, and then I can hopefully draw their fire and absorb it with his Aegis shield. Better they shoot at him than they shoot at Storm, because he doesn't have the extra armour. Now then, Purgator Fool. Where can I move him to where he's going to be able to shoot at the maximum number of targets? His silencer actually has a range of 21, so he can hit them all from here, and I toyed briefly with the idea of stripping all of the armour off the Blight Hauler, but its armour regenerates every turn, so it wouldn't kill it. Instead, I might be able to kill this Plague Marine, with a little bit of help from Intercept the Storm back there, who gets a reaction shot off at anything that gets shot at within his Storm Bolter range. But this thing has a lot of health. And it's still got 4 left. You see, Purgator Fool is actually doing reduced damage to it because it's in partial cover from him. And you should be able to do 4 damage with a Storm Bolter. And Apothecary Han has a Storm Bolter. A melee attack wouldn't kill it, unless I got lucky with a crit. But if I could move Apothecary Han up into a position where he would not have anything obstructing his line of sight, he should be able to kill it with a Storm Bolter, but I can't actually do that and still have an action point left. So instead, we're just going to move him up, Aegis Shield, and again hope to draw everybody's fire away from Intercept the Storm. I do still have Inquisitor Waifu left, however, but I'm more concerned with keeping her alive and safe, because that is my mission objective, than doing anything useful with her. So she should be in hard cover there from the Blight Hauler. The last cannon that I took over shoots at it, and then it does putrescent fog. I have no idea what that is. And sure enough, the last cannon, because it's the closest enemy, draws the fire of the Blight Hauler, so that's good. Nobody's shooting at Interceptor's Storm. This Plague Marine, who seems to be armed with a bolt gun, and who shouldn't be able to hit the Inquisitor from there, does manage to hit the Inquisitor from there. But hey, that's good, because if he can hit her, then she can shoot back at him, yeah? You'd think so, wouldn't you? Turns out, and I don't know why, but no. She can't actually hit him from there. And she can hit the Blight Hauler. But, watch this. This is with a plasma pistol. Completely misses. It turns out, and I don't know this for sure, but I suspect that putrescent fog ability that the Blight Hauler is currently pushing out effectively works like cover, which reduces the amount of damage that you do from range, and it's in sort of half cover from Inquisitor Waifu, and with that ability is effectively in hard cover. And again, Purgator Fool opens up with a silencer and basically only strips 1 point of armor off, so I'm not killing that thing with ranged attacks. This is really bad news. Now, bearing in mind that my mission objective is to move Inquisitor Vakir to the door and she must survive, I'm thinking, do I need to get over there and heal her? But then again, there are probably better things that I can be doing before that. So, Intercept the Storm is going to run all the way over here, and he's going to do his level best to kill this Plague Marine, or at the very least soften it up. Oh, and here's something else useful that you can take away from this playthrough for your own attempt. Inquisitor Vakir is absolutely terrible in melee. 1 point of armor damage, that was it. I mean, I could have just moused over the target and it would have told, in fact it did tell me exactly what would happen. But anyway, we're going to finish this guy off with Islanders. And we recovered his Poxus Seed, which is nice. Now the Blight Hauler. And there's absolutely no way I can kill the Blight Hauler this turn, but I've got to do something. I mean, I can shoot at it with Han's Storm Bolter, and that's it. It does some armor damage, and that's it. We do get some reaction fire from Interceptor Storm, but it's not nearly enough. Fortunately, it goes straight for Iolanthus rather than the Inquisitor. And then it sets up Overwatch, which is the sensible thing for it to do given how many people are clustered up right in front of it, but I can easily deal with that using Purgator Fool's Disrupt Shot, because that's basically what it's for. That would spend a willpower point though, so maybe I can do something with Apothecary Han, who does get a lucky melee crit without running into the Overwatch. In retrospect, I think the armor break would have been a better thing to do. But disabling its ranged weapon, in case we can't kill it this turn, is also a valid choice. Oh, and it's actually Turned its overwatch off. Okay, intercept the storm, get up there and carve it to pieces. And there's no reason to be spending any willpower here in advancing the warp meter. Because while those things do have a lot of armor, they have very little health. And that's more or less it. There are a couple of pox. Oh wait, no. Let's yes, let's deal with this laser cannon. I think I don't want to have to make that mistake twice. And now it's just a question of, well, we're going to need to heal people up, but I'm going to recover some willpower by picking up all of these Poxus seeds lying around, as well as, you know, recovering Poxus seeds. Let's get the Inquisitor healed up with Apothecary Han. So she's back up full health.
Took you long enough.
Well, I say full health. We did all suffer an affliction earlier, which means that everybody's maximum hit points are now reduced, but as full as it can get. And then it's just a simple question
I'm busy.
of moving the Inquisitor up to the relevant spot and triggering Phase 2
All right.
of the Eldar Craftworld mission.
The way is open. Knights, with me. It is time to unearth the secrets of this plague.
So if you take nothing else away from this particular mission, remember this. Do not be afraid of using Inquisitor Vakir's abilities, because this is the only chance you're going to have to use them. You don't need to save them for later. And also, don't be afraid of using the willpower and psychic abilities of your knights, because the second the next mission starts, everybody gets all of their willpower back. But the only way to know any of this is to play it through first, or watch somebody else making those mistakes so you don't have to. So, what's coming up? What exactly is it that lurks at the heart of this Eldar Craftworld? Well, you're either going to have to go and watch somebody else's YouTube video, or stick around for the next episode, because one way or another, we are going to find out. In the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this one, and as always, be pure, be vigilant, behave.